This story takes place a few years back, when I came home from university for Christmas holidays to visit my family. I was of legal drinking age at the time as well. To set the scene, it's just my mom and I having dinner at the beginning of our time off. She pours herself a glass of wine from an average bottle. I'm not a wine snob, but she is. I ask for a glass as well to go with dinner, she declines. Her exact words are, "We don't share alcohol in this house." Okay, not a problem. I didn't know this rule, and as I'm not a heavy drinker, I didn't see the issue with just having a glass out of her bottle. So, I go on off to the liquor store to grab myself a bottle to drink over the next few days, and lo and behold, I find her favorite bottle of wine. It's Burrowing Owls. The liquor store only has a case of it and limits the number of bottles you can buy. It's a rare find and I lucked out. I buy the max, which is 2, and hit one, while I bring the second inside. By now, it's evening, and after dinner. My mom is in the living room finishing her wine. I open the bottle and bring both the bottle and a glass to the living room. My mom eyes up the bottle and asks for a glass. I look her dead in the eyes and say, "Sorry mom, we don't share alcohol in this house." She offers me 2 of her bottles for mine, says I won't know the difference, but I stand firm, we don't share alcohol in this house. So I force myself to finish the bottle in front of her while she sulks. Christmas morning, after my family has opened up all our gifts, I come out with the second bottle as a gift to my mom. She shared it with me that night. Me: we are unable to cover the claim for the death of your dog. Caller: why? Me: there are discrepancies with the breeder certificate. Caller: what discrepancies? Me: the certificate states the dog and breeder are both registered with the Kennel Club. We have checked and they aren't. Caller: so? Me: there is no such thing a Labrador. Yes, if you are going to fake documents please spell check. But I still giggle at the thought of a strain of Labrador that had permanently grumpy demeanor. Not my story, but my husband's, who is a trained system administrator and works with many clients through his firm. This time, a client called to tell him that a steel press had stopped working. The interface was shot and nothing worked as it should. So, my hubby drives there, and this is what happened. Everything is of course just an approximation of what was said, as I wasn't there. Hubby as supervisor and idiot working there, though probably not much longer. H gets there and immediately realizes that the connection to the internet is non-existent. He looks at all the cables at the press and everything is plugged in. He and S try and fail to reboot, rework, fix anything. During all this time, Id sits in a corner at his laptop and every once in a while throws in some remark in the vein of, "Yeah, that totally stopped working and that program isn't doing anything anymore." So, after about an hour, my hubby is this close to giving up when he looked over to the guy at the laptop. More specifically, the LAN cable, coming from his laptop and going into the only box in the room. And next to it, you guessed it, lay the LAN cable that was supposed to connect the steel press to the internet. Did you pull that cable out? Yeah, I needed internet. There is VLAN in this building. And also that is cable connecting the press to the internet. According to my hubby, you could have heard a pin drop in the silence that followed. The supervisor thanked H and sent him home. And in the car he called his coworker and they laughed harder than ever at this complete moron who managed to pull that cable out while his boss was looking. I laughed till I had tears in my eyes when he told me. I worked at a small-town movie theater for a few years during community college. Creepy guys weren't common but they definitively weren't rare. I had one in particular who clung onto me. It started when the first time he came into the movie theater, I took his ticket order, then his food order and then gave him his total. The entire time, he was just intensely glaring at me. When he handed me his money, he grabbed the back of my hand and said, "Oh, I like your skin." Confused and trying to avoid confrontation I said thanks, I got it for Christmas. Hoping sarcasm would deflect him, didn't work. For the next year, he came in about every 2 months and regardless of how long my line was of customers, he would wait in my line, every single time. He started to get more aggressive once he realized I was avoiding him. I was behind the counter one day stocking something. I wasn't alone but to the customer's view I was. My coworkers were in the storage room right behind me, door open so they could hear me, and he comes running down the hallway straight towards me. Thankfully my 6-foot-tall coworker came out from the storage room and he instantly stopped. There were plenty of other things he did, followed me to theaters, tried to follow me to the bathroom, and he even tried to follow me upstairs to the projection room once. But the creepiest thing was when he waited for me in his car. I don't know if you know, But when you decide to come to the 10:30 showing of whatever shoot movie is out, theater employees have to stay till it's over. I got out of work around 1 a.m. and started to walk to my car. I hear the engine of a car already running and I notice the old stalker just sitting in his car, smiling at me. I hear the door open to his car and see him beeline for me. I ran the fastest I have ever ran to my car and locked the doors. Noticing he was beat, he walked back to his car, giving me the death stare the entire time. Let's not meet again. Me, this is the pharmacy, how can I help you? PT, hi, I'm calling to cancel a prescription. Me, of course, can I have the date of birth, please? PT, it's for my dog. I'm not sure. Me, okay, no problem, could I have a last name then? I pull up the information and it's a script for some eye drops. PT, I need to cancel the eye drops. She doesn't need them anymore. Me, of course, no problem. PT, yeah, she just had that eye surgically removed last week, and I forgot to call and cancel until now. My poor baby. Me, I'm so sorry. I hope she's doing better. No worries, I'll cancel the prescription for you. PT, thank you. She's doing pretty well. She's always winking at us now. This is a short and simple story that happened years ago when I still lived at home. I was 20 at the time and my sister was 17, still in high school. I was about to leave for work and noticed she parked her car behind mine. So I asked her if she could move her car to let me out. I figured that she could just park her car where mine was once I was out of the way. She rolled her eyes and for whatever reason had a slight attitude about it and told me to move it yourself if you're the one that has to leave. She couldn't even be bothered to give me her keys for me to do so. So I did. I moved her car and parked it a mile down the road in my grandparents' driveway and walked back. I put her keys back and didn't say anything as I grabbed mine and just left. Made me late to work that day but I didn't care. Next time I asked her to move her car she begrudgingly did. Background: I work as a lifeguard at a public pool run by the city. Entry fees are $1 for kids, and $2.25 for adults. People can buy punch passes with limited uses. Yesterday my coworker, Steve, was the cashier. A few hours in, a man comes up to the window and hands him a pass to scan. Steve scans the pass and it's empty. The man acts all confused, gives some excuse, saying he should have passes left, etc. The pass system is super confusing and doesn't always work, and Steve knows this. So, demonstrating great customer service, he tells the man that he is very sorry, go on in. The man gets in free. Today, Steve was again a cashier. And again, the same man comes up with the pass, and it is empty. Steve, however, remembers this man. He takes a closer look at the screen after scanning the pass and notice the balance is not 0 passes. It is actually -17 passes. The man has clearly been doing the same thing for quite a while, just getting the cashier flustered enough to ignore it and let him in without paying. But yesterday was the last time. Steve doesn't say a word about the -17 passes, but informs the man he will have to buy a new card containing 20 passes. The man agrees, and hands over his credit card to pay. Steve conducts the transaction, but adds the price of the 17 unpaid fees. Instead of just paying for a new pass, the man now has to pay some $85. Steve informs him of the cost, and says the computer does it automatically. The man, realizing that he has been caught and now must pay, drops the act, says, "Oh," pays, and walks inside. He could have saved so much money if he had just paid the $2.25. I should preface this by saying I'm a cashier, 16F. One of the managers, 22M, from a nearby location comes to my store every so often. He's usually nice to me and makes conversation. He actually talks to me more than most of the employees at my own store do. I had absolutely no issue with him until today. He made a really weird sexual joke about me during my shift earlier and it made me uncomfortable, but I didn't say anything. The manager knows I'm 16 because he literally asked me how old I am the last time I saw him. It was just super uncomfortable and it's been bothering me all day, but I'd if I'm overthinking it. This happened to my brother and not me, but it is still one of the best stories I've ever heard. My brother used to work at Chick-fil-A as a cashier and would take the customer's order. One day, he had a Karen come in. First she just fine, until she got her food. She complained that the bun was bad and she wanted a new one. My brother was going to assist her until she said, "Just do your job properly and get my bun." He shrugged and agreed. He gets a brand new bun, Goes to the register and rings it up. He looks at her and says that'll be 27 cents. She looked at him really confused and asked why she had to pay. To which my brother said, I'm just doing my job properly. I know a lot of people are going to think this is fake, but I swear it's not. I've got my best friend as a witness. This happened a few years ago when I was about 13. I'm 5 feet 7 inches and about 125 pounds, so I'm pretty small, but I usually have pepper spray and a pocket knife on me. I am embarrassed to say though, in the excitement of exploration with my best friends, I forgot my pepper spray and knife. I love to explore and travel even, or especially, in places I'm not allowed. So when I moved in, of course one of the first places I explored was the train tracks. So I had my best friend come over one day to explore the neighborhood with me, and we decided the train tracks was a perfect place to explore. We were walking for an hour or two, but it was still light outside and we had just passed a small neighborhood street, so we felt safe. But when I turned around to throw a stick, I saw 5 hooded figures following us from about 200 feet. I tried to pretend I didn't see them and told my best friend calmly. We decided to look at them straight on and see what they would do. Once we looked at them, they stopped, so did my friend and I. We stared at each other for a few seconds, but it felt like hours. Finally they made their move. 3 of them went left and 2 of them went to the right. We heard the sound of loud and fast footsteps, so we finally snapped out of our trance and ran as fast as we could. We were both in cross country and we were being held together by adrenaline, so we could run faster than we ever had before. Luckily, because I explored on those same tracks alone a few days ago, I knew if we ran half a mile more we would be on a bridge above another small neighborhood. We somehow made it, no clue if we were still being followed or not, but out of fear we jumped 10 feet down and kept running deep into the neighborhood until we finally saw other people. Then we slowly walked home, shaking and exhausted. Looking back now, I regret not telling my parents, but I was scared they wouldn't let me explore alone anymore. But I didn't go on those train tracks again, and I never will. My husband and I got divorced 3 years ago. We had many issues, of course, but one was that he was uninterested in compromise. If something was important to me, it wasn't a big deal. But if it was important to him, it was vitally important. So, I often think fondly of one of my favorite ways to mess with him. One thing he really cared about was butter. He always wanted our butter or margarine to be smooth. So, if you use a knife to scrape butter out of a butter tub, then he wanted you to scrape it out to leave a smooth surface afterward. So, when I would use the butter, I would purposely carve smiley faces into it for him to find. Boom. Petty. I was really upset because I'm cat sitting for my sister's elderly cat, and I left his medicine out of the fridge overnight for 10 hours. After I couldn't reach his vet or specialty pharmacy, I called you guys to see if somehow you could get a refill for me. I started our conversation by saying my name, and as soon as I started to talk I felt tears coming. I told you I was going to try to stay calm while talking to you. It was so hard. I couldn't help myself from crying, but I tried to just keep breathing and answer all your questions. You were so kind. You explained to me the purpose of refrigeration, what happens if it's not refrigerated, how 10 hours was okay, that the medicine wouldn't be spoiled, just slightly more potent if left out for over 12 hours. You explained to me how to check for discoloration and separation. You explained to me how my sister's cat would definitely be okay, that we could give him the medicine tonight, and even if there was a slight change in potency, one day of this change was not going to hurt him, and we could get a rush refill if needed after reaching his vet. You made it clear that that worst-case scenario was not likely, and that you were confident that everything was okay. I initially called to see if you could somehow rush a refill for this cat that doesn't even use your pharmacy, and you ended up listening with empathy and reassuring me and pretty much talking me down from a panic attack. If there weren't a freaking pandemic right now, I would bake you cookies and bring them to you. I am so grateful for your help. Thank you, X1000. First time posting here. This happened today and thought it was finally worthy enough for TFR. Me equals me, group leader equals GL. I'm a car dealer who sells cars on Facebook, Gumtree, and AutoTrader. I received a message this morning on Facebook asking for details and more photos of a car I had up for £3,500. I answered all the questions and sent more photos. GL, I'll give you £2,500 cash for it right now. Me, sorry mate, that's way too low, I'm in no rush to sell. GL, so how much do you want for it? Me, £3,500. GL, but what's the best price you can do? Me, if you come right now and take it I'll knock off £100, So 3,400 pounds. GL, that's too much. It's a Cat N. Previous accident car. Me, doesn't matter, the car is in great condition, the previous damage was all bodywork and it's all been fixed now. GL, best I can offer is 3,000 pounds, I don't have any more money. Me, sorry but I've already got other customers wanting it for the price I want. GL, I don't have that money but send me your address, I want to come see it. Me, okay, sends address, let me know when you're close. About 20 minutes later a car pulls up and 4 guys jump out, we exchange a quick greeting and they start inspecting the car very aggressively. They asked for the key to turn the engine so I gave it to them. 2 of the guys then get in the car and attempt to drive off, luckily I guessed this would happen and stood close to the car, I grabbed the door, flung it open and jumped in the back before they could drive off. GL, we were just going for a test drive. Me, that's fine, I'll come with you. GL proceeds to test drive the car with me in the back, we return back to the original location and I quickly grab the keys from the ignition. GL, I want the car, what's your final price? Me, like I said, 3,400 pounds is the best I can do for you. All 4 guys then proceed to tell me how they're broke and they have no money and they really need a car to do deliveries and earn some money. I just wanted them gone so agreed to drop another 100 pounds but stood firm at that. Eventually they agreed to buy. GL, I'll give you a deposit now and come back and pay you the rest tomorrow. Me, that's fine, I don't need your deposit, I'll hold the car until tomorrow, when you come pay me in full I'll give you the car. GL, okay, where's the logbook, proof of ownership? Me, I'll hand that over to you tomorrow after you pay me. GL, I need to insure the car tonight. Me, you don't need the logbook to insure the car, just write down the number plate. GL, gets angry if I insure the car tonight and come back tomorrow and it's not here, I'm going to kill you. Me, no worries mate. See you tomorrow. Now let's see if they come back tomorrow. Update, they came back today. Tried some more of their antics, eventually they gave me cash, I counted it was short, I told them I wouldn't sell them the car, they eventually coughed up the rest of the cash, I handed the car over to them and left. I actually did work in a bohemian sort of store that sold mainly beadworking supplies, as well as imports such as African art, hand-woven rugs, candles, and scents, etc. A great deal of expensive crystal, precious metal and gemstone beads were kept behind the counter and brought out only on request. Ours was also a full-service operation where we offered classes, but also gave limited instruction over the counter to help customers select the proper materials for their projects. I am bead seller, BS. One very obnoxious customer, OC, always took up a lot of staff time dithering over her selections, then practically demanded we make her jewelry for her every time she made a purchase, and tried to wheedle markdowns, extended layaways, etc. On one particular occasion she was planning a vacation in Florida, she went on and on about it, and wanted adornments to weave into her long blonde hair. After selecting her items, with plenty of assistance from me, she tried to work a deal, as usual. And when that was not forthcoming she grudgingly presented a credit card, which was not signed on the back and was presumably in her husband's name. Instead of a signature the words check ID were written. BS, I will need to see identification because the card is not signed, it's in a man's name, and also the words check ID are written on back. OC, I shop here all the time. I spend a lot of money. You know me. Indeed I did, and had been waiting for the stars to align and revenge to be mine for all the times she had made my life miserable. BS, sorry, ma'am, but I will still need to see identification, the card is not signed. OC, that's for security. BS, wha? Still, some ID please, it says right here on the card. OC, it's in my car. BS, no problem, I'll wait. OC, you expect me to go out to my car, in the rain to get my driver's license? BS, holding up the card, I did not write this on here, it says right here on your card, check ID. OC, my husband wrote that. He's an idiot. BS, how lovely that you found one another. Mic drop. This woman was such a twit that she did not realize I had scored on her big time, which frankly took some of the fun out of it. She slogged to her car and returned, her blonde ringlets dripping with water. I toyed with the idea of requiring a call to her husband to authorize the purchase, but figured I had punished her enough. The last names matched. Good thing she had not kept her maiden name. Revenge is so sweet. I was once looking for a compact snow shovel that would fit in my car trunk to replace my old one that broke, but was having trouble finding one because it was the end of winter. One day Kavina triumphantly declared she got me one. Says it's in the back seat of her car because it wouldn't fit in her trunk. I said that won't work because I need it to fit in my trunk. She insists it will. I point out we drive identical cars. She still insists my car's trunk is bigger. I say nope, they're the same car, just different colors. She still wants me to see what she bought, so I agree just to humor her. It turns out it's not a shovel, it's a plow. Like what you would use to push snow down a walkway or driveway. She once said during a conversation about travel that she wouldn't want to go to Jamaica because they speak French there. Incidentally, she's lived in a place where the official language is French for 4 decades but speaks none of it. Referred to a Portuguese person as Latino. When I pointed out they're Portuguese, she insisted they're Latino too. Thinks that ADHD is when a child acts out because the parents don't give them enough attention, hence attention deficit. Told me not to cut up my strawberries because they lose their vitamins when you cut them. I was tempted to ask if it's okay to chew them. Is convinced that pushing the preheat button will break the oven. Is convinced that the rehab/physio she sent me to as a child corrected my flat feet. It was a scam, I never had flat feet. Thinks that if you take birth control pills you run the risk of never being able to get pregnant after stopping the BC. I told her all the women who got accidentally pregnant after missing one pill would beg to differ. That's just a few stories off the top of my head, but I might post again if I remember more. So I started at a new school in October. I'm a new teacher, and we have a period of time where you still get support in school, a team of people who guide you and observe you a couple of times throughout the year. They also check your planning folders. This one person on the team is meant to be my mentor. She has a bad reputation. A few teachers told me they felt sorry for me, that she has no empathy, and took me aside to say it's just the way she is and not to take it personally. Well, they were right. She spent the whole year looking at my planning every week and routinely giving me double-sided pages of hypercritical feedback. She wouldn't let me be observed by any other teacher. You're meant to be seen for one lesson at a time. But she told me she was coming in for a whole day. Then she came in again. And then again. She told me off for asking too many questions. She told me I was overwhelming some staff but wouldn't tell me who, so I avoided asking anything so as not to annoy anyone. If I asked her anything she told me, well, you should really know that now at this stage, shouldn't you? Anyway, we have been off school for 3 months. I heard nothing from her. Suddenly she rang me on the 11th and told me she had serious concerns and wasn't sure she was going to sign my form. This is the first I heard about serious concerns. The last observation she had finally said she'd let someone else observe me, and it was a great lesson. I can't point to a specific thing she said as bullying, but basically she's been hypercritical all year and destroyed my confidence. And now she's telling me very last minute that I'm not good enough. I did everything she asked, I took all her advice. I have well-documented evidence that I've improved. I cannot understand why this person is doing this to me. What do you do if you feel you're being treated unfairly in the workplace or like someone is just hypercritical? Edit, just to add, I can't exactly use her having a bad rep as evidence, and I also can't say she hasn't paid me any attention. I'm sure she'd twist it into her being very supportive rather than overbearing, and paint her hypercriticism as being proof I'm not good enough. I work at a small-town coffee shop that has managed to adapt and stay busy during COVID-19 by utilizing a window for walk-up service. A regular problematic customer, let's call him TJ, is a typical middle-aged man riddled with toxic masculinity. He often makes female employees and customers uncomfortable with his comments. Lately he's been around a lot, being typical TJ. Today he came to our window and ordered a coffee. Cool, nothing out of the ordinary. A co-worker asked him if he would like to tip via our Square register. We normally don't verbally ask customers, but with the current pandemic we are not allowing customers to touch our iPad system. He proceeded to tell her to put 100, and reassured them he wanted to tip that much because he appreciates our hard work and effort and wants to chip in since our business has been a bit slower. Okay, I gave him that and almost have a change of heart about DJ. We both outwardly thank him and he goes on his way. I text my boss about this uncharacteristic interaction with TJ, and through their end of the register system she was able to look at the transaction. They noticed that not only was the credit card he used not in his name, but in his boss's name, on their company card. Typical TJ. What a D-bag. I recently started a new job and have been doing pretty well. Today I had 2 women and a boy sit in my section. They were cracking jokes and from the start I knew it was going to be one of those tables that make your day. Get them their drinks and one woman asked for a beer. I asked for her ID and the other woman starts cracking up saying girl she is twice the legal drinking age and the other woman looked her in her face and said Kathy, do you want a divorce? Obviously joking. The whole time they were cracking jokes and making me genuinely laugh. Not just that fake customer laugh we have to perfect. They were so nice and a genuine pleasure to take care of. Their son was so polite and actually kind of funny too and I was cracking jokes with him the whole time too. When I dropped off their 50 check, one of the women handed me a 20 and told me I did an awesome job. I thanked her and cashed them out. When I brought back their card, the other woman handed me another 20. I told her that her wife had already tipped me, but I appreciate it anyways. She told me she knew her wife had already handed me 20, and they both wanted me to have more. She said she had been going to this restaurant for years and I was the first person her son really liked. She said she always based the tip on how the server interacted with their son. She said they would ask for me every time. They were honestly the highlight of my day. My little brother is 6, and he's getting into superheroes. I decided to show him my favorites, the Spider-Man movies from the 2000s, the Raimi ones. He's already familiar with Spider-Man but doesn't know much past he's a cool hero. Our last name is Parker. When he says my name is Peter Parker, my brother absolutely lights up. He said that he didn't know Spider-Man was related to us. It didn't cross my mind that he's young and didn't realize that in general superheroes aren't real. I didn't want to crush his spirits and so I told him that Spider-Man is our cousin and he doesn't visit often because he's busy saving the world. This was a week ago. Cut to today when my mom tells us that our cousins are coming over today. My brother gets really excited. It didn't even cross my mind why he was unusually happy about it. I figured it's been a while because of COVID and that's why he's excited to see them. They show up and, big surprise, Spider-Man/Peter Parker isn't there. My brother is confused. This leads to him having an absolute meltdown and I had to explain to my parents why it was my fault that my little brother was absolutely devastated that Spider-Man didn't visit us today. TL, Doctor my little brother watched Spider-Man, realized we have the same last name. I told him he's our cousins. A week later our cousins come to visit and my brother is crushed that it's not Spider-Man. We had a customer come through our DT this week that couldn't understand why we all were wearing masks, because it made it difficult to hear through the speaker. The employee handling the transaction let the customer know that our bank is requiring us to wear them. The customer then went on a rant saying the virus isn't real, masks are pointless, and we're all just breathing in our own carbon monoxide. As soon as the speaker went off, everyone in the branch was laughing about breathing in all our carbon monoxide. This happened yesterday. I went into the office for the first time since the quarantine began. The company finally enacted a fully remote policy for my department so we all had to come in to clean our desks off so they could reuse the space. When we arrived, we had company-branded face masks on our desk to wear per company policy so I donned mine. I wasn't feeling well. When I showed up to work I had a lot of stomach pain that I assumed was from an inevitable bout of diarrhea. I sat at my desk and began packing when I started sweating profusely and feeling very sick. Not wanting to raise any alarm due to the COVID situation I told my 2 nearest coworkers that I needed to leave and would come back Monday to finish cleaning. At this point I really wasn't sure what was wrong. I hadn't been this sick in a really long time. I made my way out of the office and through the warehouse towards the parking lot. I got to the exit and stopped. I felt like I might puke. I waited and the feeling subsided. I figured I just needed to get home and relax while this ran its course. Here is the F up. I should have gone to the bathroom but I left the building and began walking to my car. I was nearly there and had my laptop bag in one hand and my keys in the other when suddenly, I puked. There was no warning and no chance to do anything but lean forward and puke, right into my face mask. It was not a small amount of puke. I stood there for a second, unsure of how to proceed. I had a mask full of puke and I could only imagine what state my beard must be in. Suddenly I felt it happening again so I put my bag down and pulled off the mask and proceeded to vomit another 3 times while leaning against my vehicle. I used a bottle of water from my car to clean up as best I could. I was standing by my car with the door open and when I looked up, 3 of the warehouse managers were standing about 50 feet away watching me. I just gave them a nod. They nodded back without a word before re-entering the warehouse, no doubt relieved that they wouldn't have to come any closer to help me. I drove home with a beard that smelled awful. I wonder if they'll go pull the surveillance video for a laugh. DL, Doctor, I puked in my face mask, while it was still affixed to my face. Edit, typos. I just remembered and was thinking about this the other day. Figured I'd finally post something here. Setup. This happened about 9 to 10 years ago. I was 16 at the time, wore pretty much nothing but clothes from Hyde at the time. This happened at my local mall. Me and G, guy asking for help. Went into Hyde like I always did whenever I went to the mall. I finished looking around and decided to head out. As I am walking towards the door I walk past a group of guys and the biggest guy in the group over 6 feet tall and easily 250 plus pounds, bald/buzzed hair with a kinda brownish/ginger soul patch reminiscent of Howie Mandel calls out. "Gee, hey, do you guys have this in extra large?" Not realizing he's talking to me I keep walking. "Gee, hey, can you check the back for an extra large?" "Oh, sorry. I don't work here." Walk out the door. "Gee, so you can't help me?" If you've ever been in a Hyde, you know the music is usually really loud. I speak a little louder. No, I don't work here." "Gee, oh my bad dude. I didn't hear you. You totally look like one of the employees." Nope, I'm not old enough. I just shop here a lot." "Gee, really? How old are you?" I'm 16. "Gee, for real? I seriously thought you were like 19. I get that sometimes." "Gee, yo, you could totally get with older women if you wanted to." Thanks?" I can't remember exactly what he said but it was something along the lines of, "Gee, make sure you treat them right when you do." Okay. My family walked by and I left with them after being kinda weirded out by the guy. First time posting, currently a EMS dispatcher for a private ambulance company for 3 years now. We take some calls, however, they're usually seizures, psych, and falls. This one? Probably should have been psych, but unfortunately she wasn't the patient. This call happened in my first year, while I was pretty fresh and didn't understand the power of controlling a call. And #X200B. Me, okay, tell me exactly what happened. CLR, yeah, my mom fell in the other room, you know we have her locked in there right now, but yeah she fell and I think she may have hit her head. Me, okay, are you with her now? CLR, well, you see, she has dementia, and we live in a new home, so she is locked in there. You see, we can't have her wandering because of the bears that are around here. Me, have you gone to check on her yet? CLR, no, I can't unlock her door because she will get out and the bears will get her. Me, can you please go check on the patient? CLR, yeah, I think she might have hit her head, it sounded like she hit the end table, that's what woke me up, but even our big dog, insert large dog brand, is afraid to go outside because there are bears here at this new house. Please send the ambulance but make sure they get in and out quick because the bears will get them. Rinse and repeat for literally every one of the 10 questions involved with a fall. I was essentially working with a third-party caller as she flat out refused to unlock her mother from the room until the EMTs got there, let alone even go look at her. And #X200B. I kid you not, I heard way more about these bears than I ever got out of her regarding her fallen mother. While I may have wanted to bash my head into the desk repeatedly asking her the questions, now I can have a good belly laugh over it. From what I do remember though, Mom was transported alright, and no EMTs were mauled by the darn bears. So yesterday I worked the usual 6 to 2 shift and the 2 to 10 guy comes in, seems fine, I leave. About an hour later, the GM calls me to tell me he is nowhere to be found and head of housekeeping is manning the front desk. Today I come in and ask head of housekeeping what went down. He proceeds to tell me that the 2 to 10 guy had went into an empty room to take nap. But here's the real kicker. My GM completely excused it, saying since he's a new parent he probably went to help a guest, sat down, and fell asleep. Like? What? So if we are extra stressed and tired, can we go nap too? I'm honestly baffled that something like that was just excused, not even a slap on the wrist. What do you guys think? I work tech support for a phone company, which also does cable and internet. Last night was my first night working from home, due to me having COVID symptoms and awaiting test results. The first call I get, an older lady says her cable isn't working, just blank screens on all the TVs. Great. I pull up her cable box, try to refresh and send signals through, but get a failure on each one. Have customer power cycle the equipment, and have the same problem after the power cycle. I see she also had internet. So I pull up the modem to see the levels on it, and what do you know, it's offline too. Makes my job infinitely easier, as it's probably a line issue, and we need to send a tech out. I get the ticket out in, and all is well. Tonight as I remote back in, I check the ticket to see what the resolution was. Her power was out. Did she not think that might be relevant, and something I would need to know? I get that she was older, maybe she had dementia, but she seemed pretty well there, and I could hear her son, who sounded fairly young in the background, so I would assume he was pretty well there as well. Sometimes I don't understand people. Not today, but the most recent occurrence happened this past week. So I drive great distances for work, and I have a company car that I drive. For some odd reason, I developed a habit of pressing down on the accelerator with just my big toe when driving the car. Even in shoes, I would still always control the pedal with just my big toe because pressing down with my whole foot caused too much acceleration than preferred. This became a subconscious habit every time I drove that car, and after a couple years I noticed that the joint of my big toe was burning. It went from mildly uncomfortable but almost unbearable every time I drove that car. Then, it began to hurt when I walked. Finally it became so uncomfortable that I scheduled an appointment with a podiatrist. After running imaging tests, the podiatrist informed me that I damaged the joint of my toe so badly that it requires surgical intervention. Of course I'm going to get a second opinion, because there's no way that driving can cause that type of damage, right? My spouse thinks it's the most hilarious thing that has happened, and I'm not amused. DL, doctor, overused my big toe while driving for years and now I may need an operation to fix it. Today I took my masks to the shower to wash them but forgot to get the scentless soap I use to wash them. So I had some options, like the body soap or the shampoo, but I thought they would make the masks smell too strong. Then I saw the special soap my GF uses to wash her panties. I took a sniff and immediately recognized the faint perfume of strawberry from every time we get together, but I thought that if I rinsed them very well the smell would vanish. It didn't. Well, to cut it short, I get excited now every time I put one of my masks on because it has the same scent from when I take my GF panties off, which makes very uncomfortable to go out. Just to clean things up, is not that I get excited by the smell of strawberry, but that soap has a very specific artificial strawberry smell. I told her about it and she is having a good laugh and told that from now on she is washing all her clothes with the soap. DL, doctor, washed my masks with my partner panties soap and now I get excited every time I put them on. My boss is way too intense for a retail job. I see employees at other stores go on their phones or have their phone at the register. We can't even talk at the registers without getting yelled at, even when there are no customers. We also have a manager at the front of the store at all times to watch the cashiers. Even the customers comment that they think it's weird that the bosses are constantly watching. Never have I walked into a store where I've seen a boss over an employee's shoulder. We also are late for our scheduled breaks and lunches all the time. Like literally the other day I was an hour and a half late for my lunch which almost cut into my last break. Since I took my lunch so late, I had to take my break 20 minutes after my lunch. There are 4 bosses total, 1 general manager, 3 assistant managers, and in order to go on break we have to get permission from every manager to go on break. Even when it is our scheduled break time we aren't allowed to just go. We have to get permission from every manager. Are these normal things to have happened or? I am 19, am a security officer. I work in the lobby of the building which has a broken heater that's stuck on. The control panel for this heater is behind a lock and no one seems to know where the key is. So it's stuck on full blast heat. My boss, F20, has came in to check on me, just to see how things are going, and the first thing she says is holy cow, it sure is hot in here. I tell her about the heater situation and just ask if she knows anything about the keys to the heater panel. She makes a comment how she doesn't want to get near the heater. So I idiotically reply, hey, you're already so hot, there's no reason for you to get hotter than you are now, and I immediately hear how it sounds. I start apologizing right away. She just says, excuse me? We're just gonna leave it at that. And she walked off. I sent her an email apologizing again and trying to explain that I meant the temperature of the room and how she doesn't need to be near the heater and get hotter than she is. She read it but never responded. This guilt and anxiety has been eating me alive. What should I do? DL, doctor, called my boss hot on accident and I don't know what to do. This happened within the last 4 months. Background. I have never been interested in cars, but I am thankful that I can afford one. My first car was a 2008 Nissan Micra. It was small considering I'm 6'4". A top speed, on a good day, of around 65-ish before it sounded like a jet engine. But hey, it got me where I needed to be. My friend on the other hand, is really into cars. He has a fancy BMW. I always had made fun of how much he had spent on his car compared to me, saying, "We both drive around town at 30 miles per hour, so what really is the difference?" As time passed, we drove together across the country for another friend's wedding. To save travel, we went in the BMW and shared insurance prices to share the driving. This was my first experience behind the wheel of a nice car. It was amazing. I suddenly understood why people invest for a better driving experience. The motorway was so quiet and smooth. When we got home, I had a desire to upgrade my car. Within 3 weeks I spent a good chunk on money on a beautiful SUV with full leather trim and other premium features. My friend was very excited and happy for me. This is where I messed up. I wanted to show off my new car to my friend. So I phoned him as I approached his house to meet me outside as I drove towards him. I mistakenly thought my new car had automatic braking to prevent collision. So, I slowly started to drive towards his BMW. Needless to say, I went into the side. What I thought to be automatic braking turned out to be a parking proximity sensor. My friend somehow is still my friend. TL, Doctor, I drove into the side of my friend's BMW after he converted me to liking nice cars. Bartender at a local pizza joint. My buddy came in after a long day dealing with his 2 sick little girls. He tells me a story from today about the littlest. She's screaming for him from the bathroom. She states she's been waiting for 60 years for him. All she wanted was a cheese pizza from our place. Since they were sick, he went with something more appropriate for upset stomachs. But you can guarantee I got him a gift certificate for a cheese pizza for her when she's better. Nice to have good customers to even out the bad ones, lol. I worked in housekeeping in a hotel for months up until this past week. I'm now 35 weeks pregnant. I was scheduled to work 5+ days a week, with 20+ rooms to myself. I came into work recently, because I was on the schedule, and I could barely walk. I couldn't bend my back and my ankles were hugely swollen. I had been in L&D the night before to stop contractions. We didn't have many rooms, but 5 housekeepers in-house. Everyone was almost begging my manager to send me home, as we had too many housekeepers for the amount of rooms. Now, I'm huge at this point in pregnancy. I can't bend too far forward in general. My manager and I, discussed a couple weeks ago that she didn't want me cleaning bathtubs, so I was to have another housekeeper come clean my bathtubs. No biggie, I was fine with that. Well, the day before I quit I had went to find another HK to help with a bathtub. Said manager stopped us in the hall and asked what we were doing socializing on the clock. We explained that she was going to clean a bathtub for me and would go right back to her rooms. She yelled at me and said that if I can't do my job, I need to quit so that she can hire someone who's willing to work. I explained that it wasn't that I wasn't willing to work, rather that's one small task that I myself struggle with accomplishing. She didn't care. She continued yelling at me. Now, I've always hated being yelled at, so I spent the rest of my shift crying while cleaning my rooms. I got home from work, still crying. My boyfriend became extremely upset as I told him what had happened. We decided that it's in the best interest of our child that I just be done, as it's a lot of emotional trouble as well as physical. So I gave my manager her wish, and I went in and handed in my scrubs and quit. She seemed sympathetic, said she understood, was sad to see me go, and for me to come talk to her after I was released from maternity leave. Fast forward to today, another HK at said hotel was talking to this manager, while recording the conversation to send to me. She asked if I would be back after baby. The manager told her that I was lazy and a crybaby, so she would never consider hiring me back. I'm glad I quit. I feel like I dodged a bullet. I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to convince myself to work in housekeeping again. So I work at a small office for a construction company. I have one coworker that is a grandma, and due to some parental issues, she is now taking care of her 2 youngest granddaughters, ages 7 and 8. She doesn't really have money, so she can't pay for a babysitter to watch the girls as she's working her 8 to 5 job. There is also the issue of COVID-19 right now, so having a stranger come into your house for long periods of time and be around kids is not really a good idea. Luckily, for her, the boss is okay with the girls being in the office as long as they don't bother anyone from working and be quiet. Over the time, I've slowly went from being grandma's co-worker to being a babysitter. This is how it starts. The girls did that at first, until one of their tablets broke down and stopped working. Then, they would fight over the other tablet and would whine and tattle to the closest adult there, usually me. So to stop this I brought my tablet just so that they could watch Disney+. It worked, until my tablet ran out of power. Then, whoever had that tablet would start to come up to me and say I'm bored. They'd bring a backpack full of colors, coloring books, toys, etc. So I know that they aren't bored, they just want a tablet. I would then have to list off things for them to do, so that I could go back to work. After a while, I've learned how my coworker has been parenting them, and when the girls do something, then I just follow what my coworker tells them to do. For example, the girls have a towel and toothbrushes and toothpaste in the girls' bathroom. They are told that they have to wash their face, hands, and teeth after eating lunch. The girls would try to get away with this and go straight back to the tablets after eating, so I would have to remind them as to subtly tell them that they can't disobey their grandma. Now, I just have to raise an eyebrow and they listen. I really was fed up with all of this, especially when my coworker and I would usually be the only ones in the office, but I didn't really say anything because I know that my coworker can't really do anything to keep them home, and they are kids who need to be loud and run around and all that. But, I finally realized how much my coworker was taking advantage of me when she said, "Wow. You're the cheapest babysitter. All I have to do is just pay for your lunch." She not only said this straight to my face, but also in front of the girls who now believe that I am their babysitter. Now if there are any problems, from an untied shoe to a fight over who can get what, the girls go to me first before their grandma. Posted here yesterday and decided I might as well dig up more cringe moments from years past. When I moved houses at 18, there was a Starbucks 5 minutes walk from the new apartment. At the time, I was suffering a bad sore throat, which would be relevant in a moment. The first time I visit, I go with a close friend, who insisted we didn't have to call our meetup off because of my sore throat. She would just rant and I would presumably nod. At the counter, she helped to give my name, but the combination of the loud coffee grinder and my slightly mask looks, super short haircut and mask fashion so I looked like a 12-year-old boy, meant the barista wrote me down as Ken, as opposed to my feminine legal name. We shrug it off, we're pretty sure it's a deliberate gimmick to get people's names wrong at Starbucks. But the next 2 times I go alone, the barista remembers my face and still puts down Ken. By the time my sore throat cleared, it was too awkward emo to correct him. I seemed to have no problem with being called Ken when I could have typed STH out on my phone to correct him, which I didn't because it seemed like such a small matter, so that would be awkward too. The problem became this: my voice definitely doesn't pass for a guy's, so if I started speaking, it might make things weird for him to realize he might have misnamed me all the while. As a result, I faked the sore throat for another week, but eventually the jig had to be up. The first time I order with my voice, I could tell from his immediate expression that I had shaken him up, but he continues with me being Ken because there's nothing else to be done. Sure, I could say hey, so now you see, or rather hear, that I might not be called Ken. Actually my name is /_______, but I don't because I'm such a social butterfly that way. And because I become a regular who visits at the quiet hours, he sometimes makes small talk and I just resign myself to being a Ken. This state of affairs continues for 2 entire months until a college friend accidentally bumps into me there and calls me by my name while I am at the counter. I just mumble, "Yeah, actually I'm /_________ to the barista while avoiding eye contact. And of course when my cup arrives, if you sound it out, the right name is finally on the cup, but it's spelled slightly different, lol. And #X200B. TL, Doctor got consistently misnamed at Starbucks partially due to a sore throat, and resigned myself to my new name, shaking up the barista when he finally realized I'm a sheath and not a sword, and then again when he realized he used the wrong name for 2 months. This happened last week. It's pretty innocuous, but I finally have something to post here. I went to a local plant nursery to get a honeysuckle, a passion vine, and some cacti for my new apartment patio. I had them all on a greenhouse cart, and on my way back to my car, I waited for my turn to rip off some plastic sheets to cover the containers. A guy waddles over to me and asks me something, but I didn't really register what he said. I thought he was asking me what I had on my cart. So I listed off what I purchased because I thought he was just being curious and friendly. He pointed at the honeysuckle and mumbled something again, so I said that's a honeysuckle. Then he got visibly irritated and raised his voice a bit. He said okay, but where is the whatever he said? Then I realized that for some reason he thought I worked there, even though I was just wearing a t-shirt and some gym shorts. I laughed a bit and told him I'm not an employee. Then he turned and started to ask the same question to the lady right in front of me that was ripping off some plastic sheets. She wasn't paying attention to the exchange behind her, So he ended up having almost the exact same conversation with her that he had with me, all the while I stood back and listened with entertainment. After a few more words and visible confusion on her face, I stepped in and told him that the employees wear red shirts with logos on them. He turned red and headed off into the store. The lady and I exchanged a look with each other and we laughed together. She said, "Did he think that we work here?" I replied, "Well, I guess we do now." DL, doctor, dude struck out 02 within a minute in front of the store. It's always amazed me the things people think are okay to say to us while we're literally just trying to do our jobs, but there was a painter yesterday that made me more uncomfortable than I have been in a while. A man came in the pharmacy, so I met him at the counter and asked, "Are you here to pick up?" And his response was, "Well, that depends. How old are you?" I am a 23-year-old female but definitely have a pretty young-looking face, so it makes me even more uncomfortable that he would have said this to someone who was potentially younger than me or even under 18. This man is 63 years old. He then went on to say that it wasn't his fault that he is the person he is because his parents raised him this way, so it's their fault. I could not figure out anything to say to him, so I just asked for his name and got his prescriptions and my pharmacist. At least I had my mask on because I don't think I could have kept my customer service smile on during that interaction. I am 14. I am a certified referee in my state. I know the rules as I've played by them my whole life along with taking the officiating classes. At our park district, no headers for ages below 11. But in U12, it is up to the referee's discretion. So if it's a small tap, it's okay. That is exactly what happens. So the coach behind me screams at the top of his lungs there are no headers in U12 5 to 16 times. I ignore him. Though I could eject him. It was last game of the season and I didn't care. After a bit of yelling, he says, "Fine, go duck yourself then," which I turn and tell at him for saying in front of U11 kids. I wish I sent him away or ended the match. Sadly I didn't do much and my partner is a longtime referee, officiated my matches as I grew up, and he is deaf. So he has no idea what happened. The person who runs Park District in my area has been informed and is taking action. First time posting on here, but I've been binging voiceovers of stories from here on YouTube and was reminded of something that happened to me. This happened a very long time ago, so this might not be completely accurate, but this is how I remember it. When I was young, elementary school, don't remember what age exactly, I ran away from home. I think I was upset because my parents were giving my brothers more attention than me, which wasn't that rare tbh. I'm the middle child and while all three of us have our issues, I was considered to be the least challenged as my older brother has autism and my younger brother has really bad dyslexia, and I was always expected to have straight A's, maybe B's. I remember packing my backpack and writing a note that I left on my parents' bed while they were out. I got about a block away when I saw my dad's truck heading towards the house. I was far enough away down a side street that he didn't notice me, but a minute or two later, I saw him speeding down the same street, heading away from the house now. I walked a ways away. I think I stopped at a church to sit for a while before I began walking again. A few minutes later, a van pulled up, and a man rolled his window down. He said his dog was missing but that he had the puppies with him, and asked me to come with him to help him look for her. I immediately saw the red flags and started running the opposite direction. My dad would sometimes do stranger danger drills with my brothers and I, and one of the situations was the two of us in his car and him telling my brothers that he had candy or something and asked them to come with, and they screamed no. And ran towards the house. I got to the gas station nearby and called my parents from there, and they came to pick me up. I remember seeing on the news later, it might have been a few days after, I'm not sure, a picture of the man. I don't remember what his name was or what he was arrested for, but I remember how it felt when I saw his picture and my blood ran cold. I never ran away after that. So, weird man with hypothetical puppies, let's not meet ever again. I was just hired on as an AGM at a relatively new restaurant/pub. For the last 10 years I have worked in food services, everything from a dishwasher to a waitress. I like to think that I have some good perspective just having spent time in the dish pit, and taking tables, but this is my first time managing, so I need your help. I want to be the best AGM I can be, so tell me what you wish your management team knew, and what you wish they would do to make your workday better and your workplace more efficient. Short and sweet. I shared one of those posts on FB that said if I get 10 likes and 100 comments I will pour a bucket of water on my wife. My post got 189 comments, so I thought it was only fair to let her pour a bucket on my head too. It went great, we did it on live. Everyone thought it was funny. Maybe 10 minutes after my legs start to burn. I forgot I had icy hot on the back of my legs. It's been an hour and my legs are still burning. Like radiating heat. I can't even take a shower because that will make it worse. TLDR, I let my wife pour a bucket of water on me forgetting that I had icy hot on my bare legs, now legs are on fire. Edit, my post was too short, and I'm not sure how I'm supposed to know if my post has 750 characters. Hope you all can laugh at my pain. Anyone have any suggestions? I'd like to be able to shower soon lol. When we opened on Monday there was a stack of masks by the door for everyone. We have all been reusing the same masks for the last couple days. Today I asked my manager for a new one because I got some sauce on mine and she told me no because there was only 5 left. I asked her what I was supposed to do and she said to buy my own. Then she told me that tomorrow she is going to buy a bunch of masks and start selling them for 5. Is this even legal? Don't they have to provide us with masks? I feel like they certainly shouldn't require us to buy them from the managers. My wife and I have this gig where we clean a warehouse for someone once a month for good. In and out in 4 hours, go home and relax with no incidents. Today was a little different. We were prepping our cleaning materials and noticed the toilet was particularly dirty, so my wife dumped some bleach in there. I had to use the bathroom, and it was the only toilet in the place so I just relieved myself there. She didn't like it but I assured her it was fine. That's when things went a little wrong. I was a little ways away when I hear a thump and coughing, so I run over and see her on her knees covering her mouth. I grabbed her and took her out and asked what was wrong. She said the bathroom was filled with gas and thought she put too much bleach in the toilet. I grabbed the bleach bottle and read the warning label, and right there it says not to mix with chemicals or bodily fluids. I apologized profusely, ventilated the bathroom and now I know not to mix human waste in bleach. TLDR, relieved myself in a toilet filled with chlorine, almost gassed my wife in the process. Not me, but witnessed my bar manager go through this. Customer, excuse me, I've been waiting ages and you served everyone except me. Bar manager, I'm sorry love, what do you want? C, I'm not your love. Stares. BM, I'm sorry, can I get you anything? C, I think it's awful how you ignore customers who have been waiting for so long. BM, I didn't realize you had been waiting so long, what can I get you? C, well, I think this is awful, 5 people must have come after me and been served. BM, I apologize again, I'll get you your drinks now, what would you like? C, for free? BM, sorry, I can't do them for free. C, why not? I've had to wait for so long, it's the least you can do. BM, I don't think it works like that, do you want any drinks or not? C, of course I do, why do you think I was waiting at the bar? But I don't think I should have to pay. BM, you can either buy a drink or stand away from the bar I'm afraid, that's all we can offer. C, fine. But I don't want you to serve me. BM, why not? C, because you're incompetent, you don't know what you're doing. BM, well everyone else here didn't serve you fast enough either, what difference does it make who pours your drinks? C, well I've just said, anyone but you. Now get somebody else. BM, well, the other staff are busy mixing drinks, so you'll have to wait if you want them. C, are you kidding? Flip you. BM, flip me? I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Commence ranting and shouting followed by the bouncer escorting her out. As a high school senior, my father and I wanted to get one senior photo so I can have it for the future. So, we quickly found an ad for a photographer and paid to get my photo taken. We assumed that we'd receive a free photo as the actual photo shoot costed $50 alone and according to my dad, that's the way the advertisement made it seem to be. Well, we get there, spend 15 minutes taking photos, and then review photography packets. Apparently, the 50 was just to spend 15 minutes taking photos. An 8x10 framed photo, one of them mind you, was $47. The guy had packages ranging up to $700. This guy didn't go out to places, like weddings, to take photos either. He converted a small house into his photo shoot. So, I chose the 47 frame and after calculating fees, like a 10.00 shipping fee, the price was $120. We had already spent $50 previously so we just paid for it. Later, my father and I reread the instructions for my high school's modified graduation. They mentioned in the email that there would be a professional photographer who would take photos of me and give them for free. DL, Dr. Tifu is because we were in a rush, My dad and I spent $120 on a single graduation photo. The problem is my school already explained they would have a professional photographer for my actual graduation and would give the photos they took of me for free. So, I'm still confused about this. On our way home from errands, the boyfriend and I stopped at a gas station we'd never been to before. I went in and most of the shelves and coolers were empty, kind of like how stores look in apocalypse movies. I attributed it to maybe being tough to get stock during the virus, nabbed a soda and a Red Bull, and went to pay. Now, to hopefully make this make sense, it's important to know that I'm hard of hearing and wearing masks has been a nightmare for me. I usually rely pretty heavily on lip reading, and this situation was no different. The cashier mumbled something to me, and I just assumed it was a greeting and greeted him back. Scan, okay cool, pop my card in, press a few buttons, it makes that happy noise to notify you to take your card out. All set, right? The cashier mumbles something again and I hear the word declined, I think. I asked him to repeat himself, and he did so with even less gusto than the first time. Getting a little anxious, and self-conscious, BC a girl can't hear for shoot. I just grab the receipt he's holding out to me, wish him well, grab my drinks, and walk out. I recounted the situation to the boyfriend, mentioning how weird it was, and he asks to see the receipt. The word declined is printed at the bottom of it, clear as day. I log into my bank app, and there's no transaction listed. Now I'm even more weirded out, because the cashier made no effort to correct me or stop me from leaving? Did I just steal from this convenience store? DL, doctor, I might have stolen a soda and a Red Bull from some roadside convenience store? My disability and social anxiety have forced me into a life of accidental crime.